I used to think that just bouncing on a rebounder and dry skin brushing was enough. But what I've learned from running thermographies and seeing women who are just doing that, it's really not enough. You really have to be sweating. So sweating is one of my favorite tools. So whether you're doing a hot yoga class, having crazy sex, whether you're in an infrared sauna or near infrared, whatever you're doing, you should be getting your sweat on. Sweat should be something we're doing daily.
Welcome to the Woman's Doctor podcast, helping empower women to embrace their body and soul's full potential. I'm your host, Dr. Trevor Cates, and after 22 years of working with patients, I found the answers to our health struggles are much deeper than most people realize. To help explore this, I'm interviewing colleagues and other wellness experts to get to the root cause so women can realize their true beauty and be informed decision makers for themselves and their loved ones. You're in menopause when it's been at least one full year since you've had a period. But did you know that many women start to have perimenopausal symptoms like irregular cycles as early as their mid-30s? We're focusing on this transition in today's podcast with my guest, Dr. Sharon Stills. She is a naturopathic physician with over 20 years of experience who uses natural methods to help perimenopausal and menopausal women to live stronger, healthier, and sexier while aging backwards. She has extensive training and background in European biological medicine, anti-aging therapies, and bioidentical hormone replacement. Dr. Stills is creator of the RED Hot Sexy Menopause program and is the host of the Science of Self Healing podcast. Today, we talk about menopause, bioidentical hormones, and the importance of supporting the lymphatic system with natural treatments. We even discuss the pitfalls of deodorant. All of this and more on today's episode of the Woman's Doctor podcast. Welcome, Sharon. Welcome to the Woman's Doctor podcast.
Thank you. So excited to be here.
So we're talking about menopause and hormones today. And, I think it's so important for women to realize how much hormones play a role in our lives. And I think that we oftentimes forget about that. Would you agree?
Absolutely. I think that women often are so misled and don't have it in the equation that their hormones could really be at the root cause of why they're suffering. And they're either told this is just normal, this is part of aging, you have to deal with it, here, take a pill, or they have their hormones, quote, checked, but they're not checked properly. So then they're told your hormones are fine. And that's not true either. And so until they roll up to my door or my phone or my Zoom call doing telemedicine, they're just really in the dark and they've forgotten. They're not even inquiring anymore about what's going on with their hormones because they've been misled to think it's not a hormonal issue.
Why do you think it is that we just don't, as women, we don't really get a good education on hormones? So where is that gap in our education?
Oh gosh, that's a loaded question. I mean, the gap in how our medical system is and how women are treated and not listened to. If you think about menopause, most women are just taught menopause is about hot flashes and you want to get rid of your hot flashes. If you don't have hot flashes, then you're fine. We're not really taught in depth the amount of our body that are affected, from our brain to our bones, to our cardiovascular system, to our skin, to our moods. And so if you look back at just being a girl and in your first period, and in our culture, no one talked to me about that. We just get our period and we're handed a pad and told this is what's going to happen. And you think about in the native cultures where they celebrate and it's a big deal and you go to the red tent and you're on when you're on your moon. And so I think it just starts from early on as a woman, and we never really talk about, put an emphasis on these things. We have an emphasis in our society to get rid of symptoms, to just suppress them. And so we don't learn to be in communication with our body. We don't learn to listen to our body. We just learn this hurts. What pill I take? How do I get rid of it?
Yeah. And thank you for saying that. So the big reasons why I wanted to do the Hormones, Health and Harmony docuseries, which you're a part of, which I interviewed you for. And it's because I felt like there's so many misunderstandings about women's health as it's related to our hormones and how important it is for us to understand how our hormones work throughout the different transitions and phases of our lives, including menopause. And so, what is it that you think women should really understand about this transition of menopause? What is it that's missing from what we're typically told that you would love all women to know?
Well, first of all, menopause is not a disease. It's a transition. And if you're a woman, it's inevitable. We're all going to die at some point. They say we all have to pay taxes. We're all females, we're going to go through menopause. And so it's not something to fear, which a lot of women do. We've kind of, again, been told in the collective consciousness, oh, when you go through menopause, you get old, you get cranky, you get fat, you get dry, you become useless. Let's just go out to pasture. I mean, I had a woman once tell me at one of the retreats I was running for menopausal women, she was told that when you go through menopause, that's it, you die. And she really believed that. And it made me so sad. I thought there's just so many misconceptions out there about what menopause is. And my mission is to give women this space, this opportunity to go, wow, menopause is actually this sacred second act of my life. This is an awesome time. And we can actually learn to rock our menopause transition, to embrace it and all the things that it means about growing older and the wisdom we have and no longer having a monthly cycle, and that there's a lot of benefits and good things that come with menopause. And that if you are having those hot flashes, or you are gaining weight, or you are losing your hair, or you are having urinary tract infections, or you are having bone loss, or on and on and on, there's so many symptoms that go along with menopause, that is your body saying to you, you're out of balance. Your hormones are declining. We live a lot longer now. Our lifespan is a lot longer. So we live a huge part of our life in menopause, and replacing those hormones and bringing balance back is so important, so that you can prevent Alzheimer's, that you can prevent osteoporosis, that you can strengthen your cardiovascular system, that you don't have to have painful sex, that you don't have to suffer with urinary tract infections, and so on and so on. That there's nothing wrong with learning about your hormones and replacing them and feeling good. It's okay to feel good. We do not have to suffer.
Oh, thank you for saying all of that. I think that's so important. And I think that for women overall, one of our big identities compared to men is that we have babies. We can have babies. We don't always choose to have babies, but we typically have the ability to have for fertility. And when that is gone, when we're hit menopause and we're no longer really able to have children, it's just this really big change in the identity, right, of being a woman. But it's also a very powerful time because for menstruating women, we know that, like, oh my gosh, when is a good time to get pregnant? And like always worrying about, am I going to get pregnant? And the timing on all that, and balancing careers and children and families and all of that stuff. It's like when you hit menopause, you don't have to worry about all that. It frees up a lot more time for a lot of other really fabulous things. And so much more about what you like in life and who you want to spend time with and what you enjoy doing. And so you get to do more of that. Right?
Absolutely. I always say, hey, you get to have sex now and you don't have to worry about an unexpected or unwanted pregnancy. That alone is really cool. And whether you've chosen to give birth to a child, there's many ways to embrace being a mother. And when the ability to no longer give birth to a child when you're in menopause, well, now what do you want to give birth to? It's such a wonderful time. And I always write menopause with a parentheses around the pause. And I write that because I think pausing is one of the most powerful medicinal acts we can do for ourselves. And it's up to us to pause for ourselves. Your best friend, it's not her responsibility to do it for you, or your mother, your sister. It's our responsibility. And when we are going through this change, this transition, it's a great time to actually, yes, your period is pausing, but can you pause your life, and can you really, like you were saying, can you evaluate where you've been, and can you check in and see what are your dreams? What are your desires? And are you living into them? And if you're not, in this pause, can you put together a plan so you are? And what do you want to birth in your life now? Maybe it's writing a book, maybe it's wearing new designs and looking differently, maybe it's changing your job, traveling, new communities. There's so many different things you can birth now that you can. We've been taught that it's selfish to be focused on ourselves, but to me, self-care, I have like named myself, self-proclaimed the self-care queen, because I believe self-care is the greatest medicinal act you can make for yourself. And that when you take care of yourself, you give permission to others around you, and that you can only help others if you first filled your own pot. And so this is a beautiful time, because if you have had children, chances are they're older now, they're grown, they don't need you as much. And so you have more time to really be in your life and really look at what you're doing with your life, because this is one blip, this one precious moment, and we have to take control and empower ourselves to live it the way we choose to and want to, and do the things we dream of.
Yeah, I think that's so beautiful. And I do think as women, we have a sort of innate desire to create. It's just within us, but it's part of being a woman, whether it's creating a baby, a life, or something different. And in our menopausal years, we get to create something else, and that allow that inner drive. I think that's so important, and really tapping into that, taking time for self-care allows that intuition to flourish, and that creativity to come to the surface of what is it that you're going to create. So I love all of that. And I think it's amazing. And I think the more time we have to do these things too. So longevity, living longer, is something that we're able to do now that we didn't used to be able to do, right? So technology, the good part of technology is that it's helping us live longer, and also just understanding how to take better care of ourselves. But it's not just about living longer, it's about the quality of life. And so one of the things that I think about with that is bioidentical hormones. And I know that sometimes they get a bad rap, and that goes back to the Women's Health Initiative study, which we talk a lot about in the docu-series, and explaining where these misunderstandings about hormone replacement therapy and some of the concerns, the justifiable concerns, come from. But when it comes to bioidentical hormones, they can be a powerful tool that they benefit us now that we're living longer, and we're not making hormones and to the same level, but yet we still want to enjoy the certain level, quality of life can be beneficial for a lot of women.
I love my identical hormones. If you ever get asked as a physician, what are the 3 things you would take to a desert island if you could only take 3 things to heal yourself? I'm always like castor oil, my bioidentical hormones, and they're just such a game changer. And to me, it's important about looking at your whole body and everything that contributes to health. And so in my office, when I have women on bioidentical hormones, often they just want their hormones because they feel so good for them. But I am very strict. And if you're going to be taking your hormones, you have to be moving your lymphatic system. You have to be getting breast thermographies every year. You have to be supporting your liver, because we have to make sure the whole body, the hormones work with the body. And sometimes we forget that because they make us feel so good. And so to me, proper, safe use of bioidentical hormones, monitoring them in 24-hour urine tests, making sure the metabolites are in the right proportion, and not overdosing, giving, it's kind of the Goldilocks. You don't want to give too much, you don't want to give too little, you want to get it just right. And so I come from the philosophy of, we start low. If we don't get the results we're looking for, we can go higher, rather than bombarding your body. I'm not trying to turn you as a menopausal woman to a 16-year-old, but I want to give you enough so that your brain is functioning and your skin feels bright and smooth, and your urinary tract is protected. All these things we've talked about, your bones are healthy. And so to me, they're a necessity. If you want to, as you said, live long, you want to live long and be healthy. You don't want to be breaking down, the whole idea of longevity is to enjoy that time, which is why I call menopause the sacred second act. And I don't feel like it's the final act. I feel like it's the middle act. And so bioidentical hormones are a huge piece of, we talk about in naturopathic medicine, we want to get to the root cause. And so if the root cause of all these issues happening is that there is a normal decline of your hormones, which is normal, it would be weird if you didn't have your hormones declining, then to help the root cause, giving a little bit of what you're missing, because we live longer now, is really supporting the root cause, and then treating the whole body around it makes for a safe way to do it.
Excellent. Yeah, I agree. And I'm so glad that you mentioned about doing other things to support the body's health overall. That is so important to safely and effectively doing bioidentical hormones or supporting our hormone balance, because we need to properly metabolize and to for our bodies to be able to have that nutritional support and all of that to take care of our bodies. And so talk more about the lymphatic system, though, and why that's so important.
The lymphatic system, one of my favorite systems, which is so often overlooked, whether it's traditional or alternative medicine, is really how we get good things in and get bad things out. And if the lymphatic system isn't flowing, then our whole extracellular matrix, the area outside the cells, which is really where health begins and ends, is going to be congested. And I specialize in contact regulation thermography, which is a thermography technique from Germany. And it's something I use to evaluate the lymphatic system. It's the only tool that's available that actually, you can't do blood work to look at the health of the lymphatic system, but you can check through thermography, through heat and different points in the body. And I can tell you, everyone I see, if it's their initial scan, their lymphatic system is always congested. And the lymph is what's contributing to breast health. And so I have helped so many women turn around a developing breast cancer just by focusing on moving their lymph, on clearing out their lymph. And so we have to let things flow. If you're using deodorant, you're stopping all the toxins under your underarm, and that's building up and backflowing into the breast. And so we have to move the lymph. And just from energetic perspective, our life is all about flow. If you are stuck or contracted, you're not in a healthy state. You're not moving towards cure. And so for the lymph to flow means your life can flow. And if your life isn't flowing, your lymph is going to get congested. Everything has a reciprocal relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for pointing that out. I know we talk a lot about the digestive system and, I talk a lot about the skin, but the lymphatic system is absolutely important. And so thank you for talking about that. What are some of your favorite ways of making sure the lymphatic system is working well?
So because I am lymph obsessed, I used to think that just bouncing on a rebounder and dry skin brushing was enough. But what I've learned from running thermographies and seeing women who are just doing that, it's really not enough. You really have to be sweating. So sweating is one of my favorite tools. So whether you're doing a hot yoga class, having crazy sex, whether you're in an infrared sauna or near, whatever you're doing, you should be getting your sweat on. Sweat should be something we're doing daily. Hands-on, whether you're using light or sound, or someone is doing color applications, or you're getting massage or acupuncture, but doing things hands-on is really important. Taking combination drainage remedies to clear the field, to move the lymph, using herbs, using topicals. I use a lot of topical breast creams with phytolacca, making sure that you're not constricting with a bra, you're not using underwires, you're not using deodorant, that you are hydrating enough, that you're fluid. So there's so many different ways to really get the lymph moving. And if we really get into it, looking at your toxicity levels, if you have heavy metals, looking at your mouth, if you have amalgams or mercury in your mouth, that's going to back up your lymph, making sure you're sleeping, so your lymphatics from your brain are draining. So the lymph is all connected. And so again, looking at the whole body and all the pieces that feed into it.
Yeah. Fantastic. You covered a lot there. And of course, we can't go into all of their details. A lot of it's covered in the Hormones, Health and Harmony docuseries. And also, we also have a podcast episode with Dr. Michael Bruce talking about sleep, all things sleep. So definitely check that out. But I want to touch on one thing that you mentioned, which was deodorant. And you've mentioned it a couple of times, and you said no deodorant, which I think a lot of women are going to have a hard time with skipping the deodorant. Do you mean no antiperspirant? And what's, maybe you could explain the difference between those two, and what should we do to make sure that we're not stinky?
Well, body odor, first of all, is a sign of an imbalance. So if you have a lot of body odor, you do want to be going back and looking at your digestion, right? So you want to be looking at your stomach acid, and do you have enough hydrochloric acid? Because just like our hormones decline, so does our hydrochloric acid. And that's a whole another topic, but a really important topic about replacing it. And so anything that is clogging under the arm is just holding toxins in. And so I use specific products that are formulated by this colleague of mine, Michael Fessler, and it's called ZZ Tox. I was thinking of it like ZZ Tops. And so it helps to actually move and drain your lymphatics. You put it on at night while you're sleeping. There's also Native is a good deodorant that you can use if you want to use something. There's also another one I like, a spray called Keeping Abreast of It. You can just Google these and find them, but that's a nice spray that women find they can use. It's not toxic. It actually helps move the lymph, but also you won't smell. So yeah, I don't want you to think you have to walk around being stinky, but you just want to make sure you're using the right thing. And even the crystal deodorants, which a lot of us think those are in the health food stores, think those are healthy. They actually aren't. They're actually keeping and drawing aluminum in your body. And so you should avoid those. So it's something we don't think about, but it's a really important topic. We want to keep things flowing, especially under the arms, because it's so closely related. And we see so many breast cancers in that upper outer quadrant develop, and that's all from lymphatic issues.
Yes. Okay. So to clarify, then you're not saying to skip the deodorant, you're saying skip the antiperspirant. And the difference is antiperspirants block perspiration. So that's not a healthy thing. It contains certain ingredients that block that, but deodorants are more about, deodorizing. So making us smell a little bit better. But I love the fact that they're actually ones that you're talking about that help us with healthy perspiration, that actually can help bring things out. So I love that idea, that balance. And also, if you need to detox or you need to balance your digestive system, that could be a thing to help just keep from being particularly stinky and needing deodorant. And another thing that I learned about antiperspirants is that they actually create an imbalance in the microbiome of the underarm. And so they create more of the malodorous producing bacteria. So antiperspirants, another reason to avoid them is they make you stinkier.
It's kind of like when people drink diet soda and they think they're going to lose weight, it just makes them fatter. It's the same thing. It's exactly. And yeah, anything we want to be pro perspiration. If your body wants to sweat, let it sweat. We want to get things out. We don't want to keep them locked in.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Sharon, thank you so much for coming on today. This has been entertaining and fun. So will you please tell everyone where they can learn more about you?
My website is just simple, drstills.com, just drstills.com. And I'm pretty active on Instagram, Dr. Sharon Stills. You can find me there as well. Pretty much under my name anywhere. And I do have my passion project is I work for BRMI, which is the Bioregulatory Medicine Institute. And I host a podcast for them where we talk about European biological medicine and just a different way of looking at the body from all my studies over in Europe over the years. So if you're interested, you can check that out too.
Okay, perfect. And you all can check out the Hormones, Health, and Harmony docuseries, which I interviewed Sharon for. And thank you, Sharon, for coming on today. I really appreciate your interview.
Thanks for having me and for being a part of your awesome project. I'm super excited.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Woman's Doctor podcast. If you enjoyed the podcast, be sure to share it with the women in your life. And to learn all about balancing hormones, join us for the Hormones, Health, and Harmony docuseries at thewomansdoctor.com.